yeah, so it's been a great market for silver. It's unfortunate it's below 30 now. Hopefully it has a nice bounce into 2025. There's about 10,000 uses of silver from the commercial perspective, which is pretty enormous. And now with the new renaissance of nuclear energy and the governments around the world looking to build nuclear power plants, some of them, these nuclear power plants, depending on their size, consume also a lot of silver. So we're going to have another big driver of silver demand coming up over the next decade.
Gold and silver have wrapped up 2024 with impressive gains. Gold has achieved its best annual performance over a decade, surging by over 26%. Meanwhile, silver has experienced its most substantial return since 2020, rising an impressive 34.4% this year. Silver bullion prices have demonstrated remarkable strength in 2024, with the silver spot price increasing 28.70% for the 11 months ending November 30th. Keith Neumeyer, president and CEO of First Majestic Silver Corp, provides valuable insights into global silver supply-demand dynamics. He highlights a significant supply deficit, noting that only 1.2 billion ounces of silver remain in inventories, most of which are allocated to exchange-traded funds, ETFs. Neumeyer further explains that industrial demand, particularly from the automotive and solar sectors, now accounts for 40% of the annual silver supply, underscoring the growing pressure on the metal's availability. In 2024, the silver supply-demand gap widened, revealing a deepening market imbalance. Production increased only 2%, reaching 1.03 billion ounces, while demand surged by 7% to 1.21 billion ounces, creating a shortfall of 182 million ounces. This marks the fourth consecutive year of undersupply, largely driven by industrial demand linked to green technologies. Solar panels and electric vehicles are major contributors to this demand, with projections suggesting that by 2050, solar manufacturing could consume most of global silver production. Overall, Neumeyer is optimistic about the future of silver. He sees it as a critical component for industries that continue to grow. Join us as we dive into the video for a deeper look. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon to stay informed about our latest updates.
Well, it performed better than I expected to see it perform. My objective coming into 2024 was to see $30 silver. Then we saw it, and that was there for quite some time, which is really nice to see. So, we took advantage of that market, of course, and it was nice to be able to sell some silver at $32, $33, $34, and our mint is also doing quite well, with the launch of the different products that we've been putting on our mint, and so it's been a great market for silver. It's unfortunate it's below 30 now. Hopefully it has a nice bounce into 2025. The market is actually quite small. It's around $30 billion, which is, not a very big market. That market could fit inside the market cap of Apple how many times, or the market cap of Tesla. That's the entire silver sector I'm referring to. So, the silver sector produced about 830 million ounces this year, thereabouts. We don't know the final numbers yet, but we'll be consuming, or if we match last year, we're about 1.2 billion ounces of consumption, leaving a deficit of somewhere around 400 million ounces. There is recycling that is also part of that. There's about 150 million ounces that's supplied through recycling. That number fluctuates. So you have an actual physical demand deficit of something like 250 million ounces. But that number that you referred to before, the 1.2 billion ounces that's sitting in forwards, those are with the exchanges. And that 1.2 billion ounces, and there's an interesting chart that I saw just a couple of months ago, which we've used it a couple of times in our own presentations, but a lot of that silver is actually allocated to the ETFs, so SLV and SIL and so on. So even though that metal shows up on the exchange as a metal above ground, or silver potentially available for sale, it's actually really not. And so it's a small portion of that actually, because you've got about something in the order of 800 million million ounces in the ETFs. So there's really not a lot of silver around. There are hoards, of course, which aren't counted. Governments do have silver as well. They don't report it in many cases. So, the deficits are filled, but I think there's going to be a supply shock. I think that there's going to be a situation that arises where, ABC tech company, runs into manufacturing difficulties because they can't get their metal on time. Or, interestingly enough, and I'm sure you know this, Steve, but the two big drivers of metal consumption has been the automotive sector and the solar panel sector. Both of those sectors are now consuming 40% of the mine supplied every year, and that's a pretty big number considering those two industries didn't really exist, over a decade ago. When I put First Majestic together, I was looking at computers and cell phones, and I wasn't even looking at electric cars or solar panels. And, that's what I thought was going to be the driver, for demand going forward. But it's now turned into these other industries. And now we're seeing there's about 10,000 uses of silver from the commercial perspective, which is pretty enormous. And now with the new renaissance of nuclear energy, and the governments around the world looking to build nuclear power plants, some of them, these nuclear power plants, depending on their size, consume also a lot of silver. So we're going to have another big driver of silver demand coming up over the next decade.
Industrial applications now represent approximately 55% of global silver demand, with renewable energy sectors playing a crucial role. Solar energy, in particular, consumes over 200 million ounces annually, accounting for about 20% of total silver demand, as silver's conductive properties are vital for photovoltaic cells. The global solar industry saw a 76% growth in 2023 and is projected to expand by another 34% in 2024. Over the longer term, the solar sector has grown at an annualized rate of 27% since 2007-2015. According to the Silver Institute, silver demand for solar panels surged by 158% from 2019 to 2023, with an additional 20% growth expected in 2023-2024. Neumeyer asserts that transforming the physical silver market is essential to disrupting the current system. He also foresees a significant shift as major industrial players like Tesla, BMW, and Apple may establish direct supply agreements, bypassing traditional markets such as COMEX, to secure the silver needed for their manufacturing processes. Now, let's redirect our attention to a video.
That approximately 1 billion ounces of silver trades a day in the paper markets. And, there's something, I think that number of 240 or 2.4 you suggested, I think that suggests there's 240 trading days in a year. So 240 times a billion, 240 billion ounces of paper silver gets traded annually. And the miners only produce 830 million ounces. So the banks know when this metal's coming, and they know how much paper they can write against the metal. And that leverage is enormous. It's over 300 to 1. So that gives them a lot of power, over the price of the metal. Because during the Reddit crowd squeeze back in 21, I guess it was, silver went from $18 to $30, and I remember the guy, the head of the CFTC at the time, was on CNBC and saying, thank goodness we were able to tamper down the market because there had been serious financial harm done if the silver price had continued to move higher. So here's the regulator talking about they're successfully prevented an instrument trading on their market, their exchange, from going higher. So the regulators themselves worked with the banks to manipulate the price of the metal to make sure it wouldn't continue to move. And then over the next few days, of course, it collapsed and, it was quickly back to below $20 range within the next couple of months. And everyone who jumped into the silver space, during that whole Reddit squeeze, lost a pile of money. And who made it? It was the big banks that made it, because they just sat there and bought back all the paper from all those stupid retail investors that came in and bought it from the banks in the first place. So putting a big smile on the face of all these traders at all these banks. So, that's the market we have. What's going to change it? I think it's going to be the physical market that has to change it. I think that for us as a mining company, if we can help, by taking some of this metal away from the banks, if other mining companies want to use our mint and put their silver through our mint and get it bigger than the 10 million ounces that we could supply to it, then that would be better for the mining sector as a whole. Give that miner a better margin for their ounces that they're producing, and also take more silver out of the physical market more silver out of the paper market. So the other thing that's going to happen, if it's not that's going to break this system, it's going to be some supplier or some manufacturer, like an automotive company, a BMW, a Tesla, Apple, Samsung. We've already been approached by Samsung once, or actually twice, I think it's been now. But you saw Tesla, invest in nickel. Tesla's invested in lithium. The industrial buyers that need our metal, and not just silver, but other even copper companies and so on. They're I believe are going to have direct supply agreements right with the end purchasers, and they're going to be bypassing the COMEX because I don't think they want to take the risk of supply, and I think that's where the mining sector is going.
Silver's versatility sets it apart, serving a dual role as both a precious metal and an industrial commodity. This unique status makes it indispensable across various sectors. As an industrial metal, silver is essential for electronics, solar energy, and electric vehicle production. As a precious metal, it acts as a store of value and a hedge against inflation. Historically, silver is one of the oldest forms of currency, alongside gold and bronze, and served as the standard currency unit from 3000 BC until 1873. In your opinion, which role of silver, industrial or as a store of value, will dominate in the future? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. If you found this content helpful, give it a thumbs up and remember to subscribe to stay updated. Thank you for being a part of this journey with us.